Hi, today from Tirana in Albania. Today we'll be talking about the value paradox, what it is and why is it important in your business. You will find out after a short break. See you after the break. The value paradox, what is it all about? Let's start with the approach of most people of the beginning, business people, of the small-scale entrepreneurs. They think that the most important feature that influences the value of a product or a service, it is its utility. So the more useful the product, the more expensive it should be, the more valuable it is. It is partly true. It is only partly true, because the most significant feature or quality of a product or service that has the most impact on its value, on its subjective perceived value, and in effect on the price that you can demand for that product, it's scarcity. Meaning, the more scarce the product, the less available the product, the more the perceived value it is. People want things that are scarce and want to pay for things that are scarce. They don't want to pay for things that are abundant, even if they are very useful. So, this is a theoretical introduction. What does it mean altogether? I will bring you some examples so you will see what I mean. Under my videos about Bitcoin, I very often get comments saying, you know, this and that cryptocurrency is much more useful. It can, it's faster, it can this and it can that, and you can use it in many more ways, and that's why it's much more valuable than Bitcoin. So why is it that those cryptocurrencies aren't valuable, don't have the price of Bitcoin? They don't reach the market cap of Bitcoin. They are much cheaper than Bitcoin. How is it possible if they are so useful, if there is so much utility in these cryptocurrencies? This is exactly because they are not scarce, and meaning it is not guaranteed. There is not much protection in the inflation of these cryptocurrencies. They can be inflated, or on the other hand, maybe they cannot be inflated, but there is not much demand. So we are talking about, of course, the relative scarcity, because as you know from economy, the price of a good is of course created from the relation between supply and demand. So the lower the supply, the higher the price. But of course, not only supply is decisive or is key. This is the relation between supply and demand. So even if you have a scarce supply but nobody wants that good, then it's not valuable as well. So we are talking about the relative scarcity. So that's why Bitcoin is so valuable, because it is an extremely scarce good, and there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. I was talking many times about that. You will see my videos from 2016, 2017, talking about how scarce Bitcoin is and about the value that follows from that scarcity. So another example is valuable metals. Why is gold so valuable? It is not useful, not that much useful. You can use gold maybe in dentistry, maybe of course you can use it from jewelry, but there are not that many applications of gold in comparison, for example, to silver or to copper, that are extremely useful metals that have thousands and thousands of applications in the industry, but nevertheless they are much less valuable than gold. Why? Because they are not that scarce. There is a lot of silver, a lot of copper that can be produced every month, every day, every year, and not that many gold that can be produced in the same period of time, because gold is just much more scarce. So the availability of gold is much less than that of the other metals, and that's why it is so valuable. And also another example you can see in real estate business. Why is it that some real estate you call luxury real estate or premium real estate, and you can demand 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times as much as for similar real estate that doesn't have this uniqueness? And what is unique about real estate? What can be unique? Of course, I mean the standard, the quality is one thing, but this is actually not the most important thing. In real estate, location is extremely important. For example, I am here in Tirana. This is the Bloku district, let's say nightlife district, a lot of restaurants, a lot of coffee places, clubs, and so on. And of course, there is only a limited number of apartments around that district, in that district, around that district. So if you want to have this lifestyle of going out every day, or often going out having a coffee, dinner, whatever, and you don't want to have to spend much time to travel to that district, you just have to pay for this apartment, this limited number of apartments that are available, of course, in that area, and that's why you can demand much higher prices. So the location is one thing. The other thing is, of course, it's a kind of also of location, depending on the geography. For example, if you have waterfront, right? Waterfront property, oceanfront property, it's usually much more expensive than the second row, the third row. Is it more useful? Usually not. You can do the same with the property, but you have much better view. Maybe you have access to water, you can go to the water from the second row, but to be in the first row there is some additional value in that. So if you have a limited number of properties that have water access, that have this waterfront quality, then you can demand much more money for that. And in Tirana there is this artificial lake not far from here where I am, and of course it has a limited length of the coastline of the waterfront. And the villas that are at the waterfront, of course, they have additional features like pools and so on. But the most important thing is the waterfront. And they are extremely expensive. I mean, in comparison with American waterfront or, in some other areas of the world, maybe they are not that extremely expensive. But in comparison with other locations that you can get in Tirana, in Albania, with the same quality of the property, they are much more expensive, right? Because they are unique, they are extraordinary in the sense that there is a limited supply, a very limited supply of these properties. Another example is a mountain close to here, to Tirana. It's a 1,000-meter high mountain, 3,000 feet high mountain that is very close to Tirana, and there are some properties on the slopes of that mountain, houses with large plots, and they have this unique property of having a great view on Tirana. You can see Tirana below your feet, And this view, you pay for this view the premium prices for these properties, because there is of course a limited number of houses of these plots that you can get with that great view, and you pay extra. So this is the reason how you create the perceived value, and how you can demand much more money for your products, for your services. This is not utility, this is the scarcity. And there are of course many strategies how to create scarcity and demand, because scarcity can only exist if there is demand. If nobody wants to buy it, if nobody wants to have it, there won't be any scarcity, and people will not want to pay money for that only because it's scarce. But this is about the scarcity paradoxon, and so the big entrepreneurs, the extremely successful entrepreneurs, they think in the categories of supply and demand, and of course they want to create services and goods that are perceived as scarce, and that's why they can demand money for them. Another example where there is no scarcity, and despite the high usefulness, utility of the service, of the product, this product doesn't get much value, or isn't perceived as that valuable, is internet, right? Internet is extremely useful. My generation and the generations after me can't imagine living without internet, and it becomes more and more useful every year, right? Every year more and more services come up, and you can use internet in more and more areas of life. Nevertheless, it gets cheaper and cheaper every year, right? If you get home internet, you get much more utility every year, more bandwidth, and you pay less every year. And in some areas you get it for free already, like public areas, public libraries, maybe train stations, maybe, public areas in cities, in towns. And it is actually foreseeable that in several years, in some years, it will become actually a human right to have free access to internet. It will happen, I think, in some cities, in some areas of the world. It happened already that you generally get free internet, but it will become your right to have free access to internet, meaning the perceived value of that, or the price of that, because the price of a product is always a reaction or the consequence of the subjective perceived value. This will tend to zero despite its growing utility. So we can see with these examples, value and as a consequence price of a product, of a good, is always in the first grade. It's scarcity. Utility can be, of course, used to create more demand for a product, and with higher demand, the relation between supply and demand goes down, and it may create then, in consequence, some scarcity. But this is just one, at most, one of the possibilities of the strategies to create scarcity. But the key is, of course, the scarcity. I hope you like this video. If yes, give me a thumb up. If not, of course, thumb down. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. I talk here a lot about how to do business on the highest level, how our self-made billionaires, the best entrepreneurs of our times, think and act. I talk here about how to do the impossible. I talk about money, about economy. So if you like this video, you will certainly like my other videos. I encourage you to watch them. That's it for today from Tirana, Albania. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.